everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. Back at it with another video. I want to talk to you guys all about this full moon in Libra that's going to be taking place on April 5th, 2023. Do me a favor, if you are new to my channel, make sure you drop me a comment below, give me a thumbs up, say hello, and let me know where you're tuning in from. And make sure you're subscribed so you're alerted as to when we have new videos coming out on the channel. So much stuff coming in the month ahead. We're going to have eclipse season that's going to be taking place in April. We have horoscopes that are coming out soon for next month as well. And we're here every single Sunday talking about the week ahead and live readings on Fridays. So we've got a lot going on. Make sure you're subscribed if you want the latest for my Beyond the Veil YouTube. All right, so wowzers. You guys are going to feel the intensity really start to kind of build. Some of you guys might be like, I don't know if I can take anymore. But you're definitely going to feel this with this particular full moon. I don't want to take away from the full moon in Libra, but after this particular full moon, 2 weeks later, we are going to see a solar eclipse in Aries. So that also adds a little bit more oomph to this particular moon. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So this is going to be taking place on April 5th, 2023. In some places of the world, it will be taking place on April 6th. You got to take a look at your time zone. But at 9:35 p.m. Pacific time and 12:35 a.m. Eastern time on April 6th, that's when we're going to be seeing this take place. So in the p.m. hours of the 5th going into the early hours of the 6th. A full moon, right? A full moon that's also really bringing an emphasis to Mars and Venus themes. Guys, we have the North and the South Node in Mars and Venus signs right now. North Node's in Taurus. It's all about pleasure, money, security. South Node in Scorpio. It's all about releasing and letting go of pain, fear, change, and transformation. This particular full moon, I think, is going to give you a little bit of a piece of the puzzle, a little bit of the flavor of some of the eclipses that we're going to start seeing here for the next 18 months. Very soon in July of 2023, we're going to see the North Node move into Aries and the South Node is going to move into Libra. So it's really going to be highlighting these next few years more Mars and Venus themes, but on the Aries-Libra axis. Now, this particular axis highlights the tension between individuals and relationships. So we may need to find more balance in our desire for independence and self-expression with our need for connection and collaboration with other people. Ultimately, this axis encourages us to find a healthier balance between these two forces in order to create a more fulfilling and supportive relationship. Specifically, relationships that honor our personal individual needs, right? And also the needs of other people. So when we see this polarity kind of get highlighted in the skies, we see this this full moon that takes place every March, April of the year. We're going to see more things coming up in regards to relationships, right? The moon is going to be highlighting that sign of Libra, really focusing on partnerships. But we've got a ton of planets moving through Aries right now, and Chiron is in the mix. So we may find that through relationships, we're realizing where we have not done the healing work. We still have to work on our own flaws, our own wounds. There can be lots of ego issues that can come up with this particular full moon. And with all full moons, this lunation takes place once a month, and it always brings about results, right? Climax, fulfillment. Now, if you go back in time and you take a look at when this particular new moon was seeded, around April 25th, 2022, we had a new moon in Libra. Now, this was at 2 degrees of Libra. So you want to put on your thinking caps, go back in time, take a look at your calendars, maybe your journals, and really highlight what was being seeded really at the end of September of last year. Now, probably many of you guys were still feeling that ping pong. We had oppositions with Jupiter. There was a lot of feeling stretched between our needs and our relationship needs. But Libra is about beauty, harmony, balance, equality, anything in regards to really seeing that we're really better being a part of a team or a collaboration. It does touch on relationships, not limited to romance, but romance because Venus is involved, but Libra can also be about our counselors, our support systems. It can be about clients, our marketplace. The list goes on and on. So take a look at where Libra is in your chart. That's where you're going to be experiencing a full moon. And likely it's like this climax of things that you've been working towards for the last 6 months. Now, in particular, this is a moon that is at 16 degrees and change. So what this means is it equates to a Cancer degree, right? So if you follow degree theory, we know that 1 through 12 degrees is going to relate to Aries through Pisces. So 16 has a strong connection to Cancer. Emotions, feelings, sensitivity, our home, our past, and our more private spaces. So it's going to kind of kick up a lot of dust, I think, in regards to maybe old relationship wounds, maybe relationship issues that have been kind of stirring for a little while. It's not limited to just romantic relationships. It could be with our families. And I want to read to you guys the Sabian symbol because, to be honest with you, even in spite of some of the challenging aspects, I really, really love the Sabian symbol for this particular full moon. So we're going to read the Sabian symbol for 16 degrees and change. So that would be 17. So we round up a little bit. And if you have this particular book on the Sabian symbols, Screen of Prophecy, if you don't, you should. You guys can find it in my link in my Amazon list below. It would be page 229. Libra 17, a retired sea captain. The keyword is relaxation. The theme is the melody lingers on. The symbol speaks to the satisfaction in a life well lived. It also speaks to the mellowness, reflection, and the man's inclination to seek out those things, places, and relationships that keep his most treasured memories vibrant and alive. The image of a retired sea captain alludes to the period of time after completion of a cycle in living when the significance and meaning experience begin to fall into place and become clear and understandable. The implication here is that the ability to relax and feel at ease depends on knowing that nothing important has been neglected or left undone. At its highest, the symbol represents confidence, pride, honor, and the ability to profit from experience. Watch for a tendency to live in the past or excuse all present lack of accomplishment by pointing the finger again and again to prior achievements in the old and glorious days. The accent is on leisure and time to enjoy the fruits of your labor. You may find yourself reminiscing about the good old days or exchanging war stories with others who have had similar experiences. Your greatest advantage lies in viewing your mistakes as learning experiences. Rethink the significance of your experiences constantly. Guard against crying over spilled milk, agonizing over what could have been, if only. On the other hand, we don't rest polluted in the soils of your success. So stepping stones would be completion, reflection, reminiscence, leisure, ease, freedom, relaxation. So cool to be seeing this kind of going on in the springtime. Although we see that polarity to Aries, which wants to go, go, go. What I like about the moon in Libra is going to be reminding us, stop, slow down, smell the flowers. What are we working so hard for? When do we enjoy the fruits of our labor? And not allowing ourselves to get too stuck in the past, which can be a theme because we're going to see this full moon in a Cancer degree. So cool. I like this. I like that it talks about reflection. You guys are going to hear me talk about reflection a lot in this video, particularly because it has connection to the Sabian symbol, but the moon reflects, right? We see that especially with any lunar transits, and in particular a full moon. It's reflecting the fullness of the moon from the sun's rays. So through action and consciousness in the Aries area of your chart, we're seeing that reflect in our relationships. We're seeing that reflect in other people. So you got to take a look at where Libra is. You may be finding that some of the actions taking place in its polar sign Aries is showing you where it's time to kind of slow down, stop, smell the roses, and celebrate some of the accomplishments that you have with other people. I think a lot of it is about being present and really enjoying whatever is going on in the moment. Now, obviously, like I said, we see this polarity between the two signs. It's going to, during the time of the full moon, a few days before, a few days after, probably have a very strong influence on relationships, partnerships, balance in our life. So if you already happen to be in a very delicate, situation with a partnership, with a friendship, with a family relationship, you may find that this is when you start to kind of see things come to the forefront. It may, in terms of how it may feel, bring a sense of harmony and peace to some of our relationships as well. I believe through the willingness of healing some of our own wounds, especially with that conjunction between the Sun and Chiron, we have the ability to kind of harmonize with other people. And many of us will be seeking to find balance and fairness in our interactions with others. And we'll be feeling more likely or more inclined to compromise or cooperate. I think that's one of the beneficial traits that Libra has. It's an excellent mediator. It's able to kind of find wins on both sides and bring two opposing forces together. However, like I said, it can bring up these imbalances. So if we have unfairness, things that are kind of unequal in relationships, we're going to notice this more. You know, Libra is a cardinal sign. So you are going to see that Libra is going to be willing to confront some of these issues that have been simmering beneath the surface for a little bit and work to resolve them, but likely in a much more positive, harmonious way. We may feel, because it's a full moon, a heightened sense of emotions, particularly around the themes of fairness and justice in our own relationships with others, but also out in the world. Now, events that take place around the time of a Libra full moon can also be related to contracts, negotiations, new business deals, and improving relationships with other people. It's also a really good time to focus on personal growth, self-improvement, particularly in areas relating to communication, diplomacy, and conflict resolution. So this can be a time where you're like, you know what, it's time to kind of air some of this stuff out. Although I will say with some of the aspects between Mercury and Pluto, there will be some building intensity in regards to communication and back and forth with other people in the days leading up to this particular full moon. Now, we're seeing the full moon taking place in the second decan of Libra. So this is going to be anything between about, 10 and 20 degrees of Libra. This is a decan that is associated with the planet Uranus. So decans just break down each individual sign. It gives it a little bit more kind of pizzazz. The first decan of Libra is ruled by Venus, the second is connected to Uranus, and the third is connected to Mercury. This particular decan in particular has a tendency to have much more of a unconventional, social, free, unexpected kind of twists and turns theme to it, because Uranus is shocking and sometimes it turns things on its side. So there can be a sense of shocking new developments in our social relationships, in our relationships also to our goals, to others, just generally speaking. And we can find that this stuff happens very quickly, okay? Unexpected events likely do happen with this particular decan, but the positive of this is we can also use that energy to kind of think on our feet and be like, okay, how can we problem solve? How can we look at this as a learning opportunity? I think it's fair to say that when you're dealing with the Libra Aries axis, it really teaches us that good relationships are worth fighting for. And I think that we're going to see this come up a lot with this particular full moon. We're going to see this also with the eclipses throughout the next 18 months. As we start to see the South Node come into Libra, we're going to start to peel away all of the superficial, more physical or more kind of pretty aspects of relationships. We're going to lean more into the North Node in Aries, which is like, hey, we have to both individually really do our due diligence to like be on our own path of self-development, right? When we are our best selves, that's only when we can really meet other people and be 100% in relationships. For some of us, it can be a rude awakening, or we start to realize like, wow, is this a shallow relationship? Is it built off of finances? Is it built off of security or pleasure, or wanting to present this face to the world that we are a perfect kind of combination? And even though some of this is a little early, you guys are going to see this happen over the next like year and a half. There will be a lot of changes in relationships. You'll see some people separate and split up because they're realizing like, hey, we're both developing. And with this particular balance of the two signs, you either grow together or you grow apart. So with the emphasis on Aries over these next few months, we're going to see that we have to be continually growing and developing. We're showing up much more in a masculine, physical way. That may kind of take away from all of the prettiness of relationships. I'll talk about that more in the eclipses. Now, this particular decan of Libra, unfortunately, is ruled by the Three of Swords, okay? And this is a much more challenging, difficult card. One of the heartbreak cards of the tarot. I wanted to read to you guys just to give you like lots of insight. This is a book that I really love. I think this is on my book list too. The Ultimate Guide to the Rider-Waite Tarot. Awesome, awesome, awesome book. I love this for reference just to get more information because it really goes deep into a lot of the symbolism of each and every one of the individual cards. So I want to read to you a little bit about some of the symbolism with the Three of Swords. If you guys have not already seen that card, it's kind of hard to miss, right? Sometimes this is the one that comes up in like TV shows and movies. It's like this or the Death card. These are the two cards that you see a lot of. So I'm going to read to you guys. This is page 142 and 143. The Three of Swords stab through the heart. What can this mean other than pain, harm, and sorrow? But we also know the image of Eros and the arrows that he shoots through our heart. Generally, we have a positive attitude to the god of love and his habits. Apparently, being love-struck does us some good. The basic meaning: the spheres of the mind and intellect make up which are swords, make up and the heart meet up and combined together. Conscious throughout finds its way into the recesses of the heart's domain. Thus, what was only exclusively intuited by the heart is made clear and brought onto the conscious plane by the swords. You comprehend what your heart is trying to tell you and what you need to do about it. So if this is like a card of the day, it would be shine a light on your recollections and expectations. Participation brings reward. Don't let your heart become a murderer's pit. Wounds heal when they are treated promptly. Give love a chance, including your love and truth for honesty. For success and happiness, caring instead of careworn. So it's interesting because generally when this card comes up, you're going to hear, oh, it's a breakup, or oh, it's a broken heart, or oh, it's this. When in reality, if you were to look at this like it was literally something that was going through your heart, the only way to be able to possibly save that particular organ would be to pull the swords out. This is a card that's about healing. It's about literally being in like a triage unit and being like, okay, we got to pull all this stuff out and we got to be able to apply pressure and tend to the wounds. Huge theme, right, with the conjunctions that we're seeing between the Sun and Jupiter to Chiron and the opposition to Chiron, because there are going to be personal wounds. The Sun in general does deal with the heart, literally, okay? In Aries, it can be about our physical heart. It can be stuff in regards to heart health, anything in regards to circulation, things that have to do with the blood. But in a more figurative sense, it can be where we're letting some of these wounds totally grab a hold of our heart and create so much conflict and inner turmoil that it's radiating outward and it's actually affecting the relationships that we have with other people. Oppositions are relational. So when we see that moon in opposition to the Sun, Chiron, and Jupiter, it's, okay, what are we learning about, hey, I'm not perfect, I have flaws, I need to learn to be open and interact with other people and let other people help me. You think you could pull some of these swords out of your heart on your own? Probably not. What I liked also is one of the notes that it made is that the card is seen as a mirror, okay? Equally, through the shading indicates the mirror. The clouds of the fog recede. Just as arrows pierce our hearts, we feel smitten but light and full of enthusiasm. The shading in the image could represent rain. One feels wounded, suffering. The atmosphere is dismal. It's raining in my heart, says the song. And yet, one part of the human body is seen close up. What is shown here is the repeated theme, thrusting through the essentials, bringing together both the heart and the mind. Interesting. What else? Shading, clouds, composition. Together the swords and the heart from the interface joins together with intellect. From a psychological point of view, it represents the basis of consciousness. In practice, this means getting to the point. Interesting. The purpose of the swords is therefore precisely there to help us sort out our affairs in our heart and make the right choices and put a name to things. In short, find the right perspective. And how do we get perspective with all these planets in Aries? Other people, right? Because we can be so caught up in our own pain, our own wounding, our own ego issues, that it can be so hard unless we have somebody go, hey, who hurt you? Show me on the doll where they hurt you, right? Like, and I think there's going to be a lot of help me help you conversations that are going to be coming as a result of this particular full moon. Only through some of these reflections, I think we're going to be given the opportunity to get that feedback from other people and make the conscious decision to step into relationships rather than avoiding and isolating and being kind of stuck in our own stuff. Let's talk about the positives, okay? Because there is positives here. I want to talk all about the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, which is happening around the time of this particular full moon, and you'll see it actually take place the days to follow. Well, when we have the Sun conjunct Jupiter in Aries, it's a very positive and optimistic time. Jupiter is the planet of expansion and growth, and when it aligns with the Sun, it represents our identity of sense of self, and where we may feel a strong sense of purpose and confidence. So we've got this on a personal level. In the opposition to the moon, I think it could be that supportive counselor, that family member, that, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, that's saying, yes, I know that, you're having a tough time or you screwed up or you kind of acted out, but like, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. We're not perfect. Things happen. How can we learn from this experience? We want to be cheerleaders in some of our relationships. We want to be encouraging people not to focus on the flaws, but embrace the flaws and be able to move beyond some of these superficial kind of based issues in relationships. Now, this particular conjunction can bring about a desire to take risks and pursue new opportunities. We're going to feel energized with this conjunction, enthusiastic, especially about our goals, and more willing to take bold action to achieve them. So there may be a sense of abundance and prosperity during this time, and we may be inclined to seek out new experiences and adventures. So the way that I've seen this play out in my life, but also in some of my clients' lives, has been a lot of back and forth, especially in relationships where people are going to their counselors or they're going to their partners or they're going to their business partners and saying, look at this new thing that I'm learning, right? Look at this new gym that I've joined. Look at this new hobby that I've taken up. Look at this new program I'm looking into, and wanting to share the optimism in regards to doing something that is expanding their belief system, their philosophy, maybe even their horizons, talking about trips they're going to be going on. But I think a lot of it has to do with an aspect of self-awareness and really wanting to practice self-betterment. And with the opposition to the moon, I think we're going to see people kind of looking at relationships and going, that's amazing, they're trying. And as long as they're working on their stuff and I'm working on mine, together we can come together and really form a much stronger, more beneficial union. However, there can be a sense of needing to be more mindful of the pitfalls that can come from this alignment, because Jupiter can overestimate things. There can be a sense of overestimating our abilities, taking on too much. The Sun's placement in Aries can make us very impatient. It can make us very impulsive. And it's important to balance our enthusiasm with a grounded sense of reality and a willingness to put forward the hard work to achieve our dreams. So another way I could see this kind of playing out is like where individuals are jumping into relationships and going, oh, I don't want to be alone, or I'm insecure, or I can't do this by myself, and really jumping into unions with the moon being in Libra and kind of expecting somebody else to kind of fill that gap, right? Probably one of the best pieces of advice I ever got about relationships, I got a long time ago. Somebody basically put it very simply, and they said, you want to be complete on your own, right? Like you want to get your life to a point where it's just completely and utterly amazing and everything is just really feeling full. So that way when the relationship comes in, it's the icing on the cake. It's not going to make or break your life. It's going to enhance things, but it's not going to take away. So I think that that's something that I would think about, where yes, a full moon in Libra can be romantic, and you're going to hear that because of the Venus-Neptune sextile. But do not underestimate the Chiron aspect here. The fact that we have a full moon taking place in opposition to a Sun-Chiron conjunction is going to bring up issues in regards to our ego, issues in regards to our self-esteem, where we are just not feeling ourselves, we're not feeling the love. There can be lots of issues with self-esteem. There can be literal accidents, injuries, things that are going on where we also realize we need other people to help us literally tend to our wounds. Because the moon is nurturing, it's soft, it's sweet, it's motherly. So that opposition to Chiron and Jupiter is like, for some people who are not actively learning how to be open and how to ask other people for help, if they're stuck in that habitual cycle of just walling themselves off, there can be physical ailments that can get them to the point where it's like that's the universe's way of kind of teaching you how to like open up, let your guard down, be transparent, be vulnerable. Like vulnerability, huge, right, with the moon. So you don't want to push it to that point. I guess that's what I'm kind of getting to. Sun conjunct Chiron will be taking place, you know, within a 3-day period. So the day before, the day of, the day after. And with the Sun conjunct Chiron, it can bring about a healing crisis. So like I've said in previous videos, Aries deals with the sinuses, the face. It deals with headaches, impact, anything where you hit something. Now it can also deal with the heart space. So I think we're going to hear a lot more out in the world about health problems relating to the heart. So I'm not going to get into that because I think that everybody is well aware that this is like a thing. I just feel like this is going to bring it up more prominently. We may see this kind of come up where you know, people are talking about this more in like a legal sense, where it's kind of coming in and people are talking about what are the legal implications, you know, what do we know about why people are having so many heart problems, and who's showing up to exercise some sense of justice, right? Libra for individuals, Aries, going through so many particular health and heart problems. Aries also deals a lot with the military. So we may hear more both with the conjunctions to Chiron, also the fact that we're getting ready to have a solar eclipse in Aries pretty soon, about health problems pertaining to veterans, people who are on active duty, people who have been also flying. The Sun-Jupiter conjunction, we're going to hear a lot more about issues in regards to airplanes, problems with pilots, issues that they're having in regards to health problems as well. Keep in mind, this is a exalted sun. Okay, so there is a lot of action revolving around the Sun and Jupiter, and while that conjunction will happen days later, around, I think it's going to be 21, 22 degrees of Libra, everything, Aries, everything is going to feel bigger. Okay, everything is going to be feeling much more magnified. So that's all of the Aries things, anything in regards to individuals, anger, frustration, needing more of an outlet, and all that stuff. So an exalted Sun conjunct Jupiter, the days following, and I think you're going to see this more like when the moon goes into Sagittarius, right? When it's trining, that's when you're going to see some of like the goodies come in. But boy, oh boy, the days leading up to and the days after the 5th are going to be quite active. Now I want to talk about really the star of the show. We haven't even gotten to her yet, but this is Venus, right? Because Venus is the planet that rules Libra. Venus is in one of its home signs in Taurus, and it's getting up there in degrees. So Venus is incredibly comfortable in Taurus. She's earthy, she's grounded, she's practical. It's all about like the earth, right? So food, resources, money, stability, security. And she's working her way into what is going to be a trine with Pluto here very soon. Now, we don't see hardly any problems really with Venus, okay? We can split hairs, but probably the strongest aspect that I can see is that Venus is making a sextile to Neptune. So we've got Neptune in its ruling sign, Venus in its ruling sign. Awesome. With that particular sextile, generally what we see is a sense of just harmonious connection between love, romance, and spirituality. If Venus rules love and relationships and values, and Neptune has a connection to intuition, dreams, and spirituality, they're both working in harmonious aspects. A sextile is a Venusian aspect. So you want to look at where Pisces is in your chart, where Taurus is in your chart. They're making sextiles to one another, so they're inspiring one another to bring about more love and sensuality and also security in the Taurus area of your chart. This can indicate opportunities for growth and development because we see the opening sextile taking place in a earth sign. So with this particular sextile, it can represent idealism, compassion, creativity in relationships. It can inspire a deeper connection in relationships, in spiritual and also artistic pursuits. I do think it has the ability to enhance our intuition because we see that sextile to Neptune. There can be a sense of listening more so to our intuition or feeling more so inspired. And through that sense of service, right, dedication, sacrifice, we're able to find, hey, we can actually have some pretty pleasurable moments. So perhaps this will be a full moon where we're willing to not overlook things, but be more willing to forgive and talk about healing or nurturing rather than feeling like the conflict build up and create separations. Now, I think it's also important to note that there can be a sense of feeling much more empathic with this. I think a little bit of compassion is going to go a long way in being able to understand perhaps why people are getting triggered and the root causes for those triggers and where they're coming from, and asking people, are you okay? How do you feel? Where did that come from? Do you want to talk about it? Like, that'll open the floodgates with Venus sextile Neptune to show people that there is a grounded, safe space, right? Like, the world's a hard enough place. Relationships are supposed to be like our safe space where we can go for solitude and feeling kind of connected and safe and secure. So we want to open that up within our relationships and not make people feel like they're being isolated. It's excellent for caregivers and also healers. So if that's something that you do, you may find that it's just bringing much more clientele to you or people to you who are in need of healing or some kind of care. On the flip side, when we see aspects between Venus and Neptune, sometimes it can create a tendency towards idealization, unrealistic expectations in relationships. It's important to maintain a balance between romantic ideals and the reality of our relationships. Additionally, it can be really easy with these aspects to kind of get swept up in fantasies or illusions. So it's important to stay grounded and maintain a clear sense of boundaries and self-awareness. This is an easier aspect though, so I don't think it's going to be as hard as a Venus-Neptune square. I feel like for many of us, we may realize like that person who we've been idealizing in a relationship or that person who we've kind of put on a pedestal, we may see things come up where we're like, wow, okay, they're not perfect. They're human. They make mistakes. And there can be some things that can come up where people are lashing out or acting selfishly with all these planets in Aries, really not always being a team player. So watch for that. That definitely can be some stuff that happens with this particular full moon, and even leading up to, the next eclipse that we're going to be having, the solar eclipse in 2 weeks' time. So much emphasis in Aries, guys, right? Aries season, we're going to have 2 new moons in Aries. So many opportunities from this moon to get feedback from other people. So that way we can kind of bring it back home and go, okay, what do I need to work on so I can be better within my relationships to others? Now, if you guys want some ritual tips, Libra, like I said, is ruled by Venus and it is an air sign. So I would recommend a combination between air and fire, okay? Because we've got planets in fire signs. We've got the moon that's going to be in an air sign. What's great would be like incense. That's a perfect combination of air and fire. You can also work to literally clear the air. So if you want to be working with sounds like bells and chimes and singing bowls, if you're into your binaural beats and all of your frequencies, that can be wonderful as well. If there's some conflict in the air, I would really recommend sandalwood. That can be something that can kind of calm things down. I would also recommend like patchouli because that can be very grounding, especially with Venus being in the sign of Taurus. Anything that's going to be kind of earthy and smelling kind of like the forest, something that's more natural, is also going to help us ground things out. Now, if you're somebody who likes to work with herbs, there's a number of herbal recommendations I can make. Obviously, you need to know which ones you can put in a tea and can be ingested versus which ones you can use in a bath. But I would recommend rose, lavender, chamomile, yarrow, passion flower, and calendula. These are the best herbs to be working with during this particular moon. And if you want to work with them as like teas, essential oils, tinctures, baths, all of these things can be incorporated into your self-care routine for your full moon magic. Anything that's going to bring back a sense of balance and harmony in your life. It can be something as simple as lighting some incense and doing some yoga, or practicing doing something with someone else. This is a moon where you really want to be actively taking the initiative to say, what can we work on together, right? And then if you like crystals for this full moon, I would recommend rose quartz, pink opal, clear quartz, or morganite. These are the ones that I think could be amazing. If you're going through some heartbreak stuff, if you're really feeling it, you can also work with rhodochrosite. That can be a wonderful kind of heart clearing crystal for some heartbreak stuff, okay? So that's basically the long and short of this particular full moon. I'm going to take you guys through the 12 rising signs and also talk to you about which tarot cards come up for you and show you where this full moon is taking place in your chart. As always, I'm a Western astrologer, so I practice tropical astrology, and I will be doing the whole sign predictions for the 12 rising signs. If you are a Placidus user like me, you want to be seeing where is 16 degrees of Libra in your Placidus chart. Look for that. That's where you're going to find this full moon taking place. I use whole sign because it's the easiest for everybody listening, you know, so that way you guys get an idea of what house it's in. But you may have to listen to 2 signs, okay? I see people comment all the time. You may have to listen to 2 signs. I recommend listening to your rising sign first, because that's going to tell you literally which house is experiencing the full moon, followed by the sun and the moon sign, okay? And I'm sure everybody wants to know, but I'm going to give you the whole list of who's going to be affected the most by this. If you are a Libra, sun, moon, or rising, you're going to be feeling this. In particular, 14 to 18 degrees, or the second decan of Libra. Equally, if you have anything from 14 to 18 degrees of the cardinal signs, okay, Aries, Cancer, and Capricorn, you're going to be feeling this pretty strongly in the form of a square. 14 to 16 degrees of Gemini and Aquarius, you will be experiencing a trine, which is harmonious, and that will be taking place because Libra is in a fellow sister air sign, okay? For my fire signs, you're going to be experiencing a sextile, so that'll be for Sagittarius and Leo. Cancer, water and earth signs. It's not that it's not important for you guys, but this is really going to impact the air and the fire signs the most, but I'll show you where it's taking place, okay? So let me switch this over for you guys. Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to be starting with my Aries and Aries rising first. All right, Aries, how's it going? This is going to be a fun one for you guys. A lot of what I've been saying, obviously, should resonate with you, but we have got a full moon taking place in Libra in your opposite sign. It's going to be in your 7th house of relationships, okay? Full moon, completions, big things happening. 7th house is other people. So think of this as services that you're offering, your marketplace. The 7th house also deals with exposure, you're basically like how other people see you. If you're in a relationship, if you're in a committed relationship, if you're in a relationship that you're kind of like on the rocks, or you're not sure, or you're starting to kind of figure out which direction this is going in, this may be the moon that gives you your answer. Full moons in the 7th house are about others. So it's not always like, oh, there's this make or break thing in a relationship. Sometimes it's just someone who you're in a relationship with goes through something. Colorful stuff here. I mean, the fact that it's making all of these oppositions to your 1st house, there's no stopping that train. Okay, Chiron, the sun, Jupiter in the 1st house is like all about learning, growing, traveling, evolving. It's active. It's very self-focused right now. So when the moon goes into the 7th house, other people are going to be more emotional in regards to the relationship that they're having with you. This can be a time where it pulls you together with another person. It can be a time where you're needing the support of others. And at the time of this particular full moon, Venus is in its home sign in the 2nd house, okay? So the way that I look at this is like you're taking stock in the relationships that are most important to you. You're investing in others who you really want to prioritize. You may have to take a little bit of time away from yourself and focus on another person. It can be really big happenings in relationships, like engagements, talking about getting married. There can also be partnership agreements, client agreements, and the list goes on. I like this for you. I feel like the only challenge is slowing down and really being able to hold space for another person. The moon rules your 4th house. So likely it can also mean that there was something going on about your relationship with another person in a domestic situation. I do think that's the case because Mars is in the 4th house and Mars rules your chart. So you're either talking about making changes at home, having some kind of moving things around, talking about moving, doing a project at home. Maybe there's some stuff going on where you're having to travel back home. So you're having to kind of go back and forth with other people and like let them know what the happenings are within the home zone. But for the most part, those of you guys who are single, you may meet a very significant person as a result of this full moon. Those of you guys who are in committed relationships may find that there is a leveling up in relationships, right? The moon is very comfortable in Libra. So I feel like this is something that is extremely positive. You're going to have the opportunity to really go deeper with another person and really, you know, be so thankful for a patient, generous, committed person who kind of really steps into your life at this time. Let's take a look and see what the cards say. I love this. This is about Mars, okay? This is about Mars in your 4th house, the Chariot. Are you moving with a partner? Is somebody encouraging you to come visit them? Are you talking about maybe going and, you know, traveling to visit family? Are you going to go and visit a partner? There's some aspect of action going on here. So it's either where you're going literally or figuratively, and maybe having some of those conversations, right? I didn't touch on this too much, but you know, Mercury at 4 degrees, it's in a square to Pluto. So there can be some intense buildup up into this full moon that's like, are we going to talk about it? Are we going to talk about it? Are we going to talk about it? It can be that there's like an elephant in the room in a relationship. But the Chariot is an interesting card because it does talk about letting your emotions and your intuition pave the way for the actions that you take. But it can also be about actual trips and things in regards to changing of your home. Pay attention for all these things. I think everything here is very possible. Even if it's not happening around the time of the full moon, I think you're going to see some more of this happen as you start to see squares taking place with Mars. Okay? Good luck. I've got Taurus and Taurus rising. What's up, Taurus? You have got a full moon taking place in Libra in your natal 6th house. Okay, 6th house. What is the 6th house? Daily routine, being of service, your office space. It can be your pets. It can be relating to your health, your diet, digestion. And it's funky kind of having like Libra here because Libra is about partnerships. So this can be literally about the partnerships you have with people at work. If you happen to work with a partner, pay attention. It can represent changes and big shifts in regards to your schedule, your health, and feeling balanced, okay? Feeling balanced. So a full moon in the 6th house is going to bring some kind of completion here. And this is happening in some funky houses. So the 6th house and the 12th house, these are houses where we reevaluate things before we either meet others or meet ourselves. So whenever we see stuff going on in the 6th and the 12th house, there can be the sense of the mental, emotional affecting the physical affecting the mental, emotional, okay? Tons of planets in the 12th house. We are coming into your birthday season here, Taurus. As planets move through the 12th house, there is this sense of like, especially in Aries, like give me some space. I need some time alone. I need to rest and recuperate and reflect because you're coming into your season pretty soon. You may feel like you just need more time to be by yourself. And with the moon moving into the 6th house, you can be feeling overwhelmed emotionally with just how much work you have to do. There can be big conclusions, you know, there can be results that arrive in regards to your health. Really in particular with Libra being here, I would say things in regards to like sugar, things in regards to your diet, your habits, patterns, the lower back, the kidneys. These are all areas that I would watch for. But at the time of the full moon, we're going to see Venus is going to be in your sign. So that's also doubly kind of bringing it back home to your physical body. So Taurus, what are some of your goals that you have for your health and how you're getting back into balance, right? I think of like you know, Libra being in your 6th house, like do some yoga, right? Do some stretching, do some breath work, something that's really going to help you find that balance. There can be literal balance issues coming up or problems with the diet or the digestion, but with Venus being in your home sign, it does seem to suggest that you're going to be covered in terms of your health, right? You're going to have some kind of support. Venus is protecting you moving through your home sign. Very soon here, in a short couple of weeks, we're going to be coming into eclipses, and those eclipses are still going to either be right on the cusp of your ascendant at 29 of Aries, and then we're going to see one that's going to be on your descendant, which is going to be in Scorpio. So it's bringing up themes in regards to how you are feeling affected in regards to other people. So, you know, this might be a time like the next month or so where if you need some space from someone, right? If somebody is just constantly like all up in your cubicle, your office space, they're not giving you space, you might just feel like, okay, I just feel like I need to be kind of like working remotely, or I just need a little bit more time alone, or I need some time away from a partner. So you're not feeling so suffocated. That can definitely be coming up right now. Just watch your health. That's the big thing that I would say, and find ways to be able to bring the energy back to you so you're feeling more grounded and centered, and you're not feeling like you're getting kind of offset by other people. All right, so let's take a look at what the cards have to say for you, Taurus. Literally, the tarot's going to be so sassy today. I was working with this deck earlier, and it was giving me some of the same answers. So you get two of Pentacles. I can't leave Moldavite on this deck anymore. 2 of Pentacles, so it's literally saying, hi, you're taking on too much, right? You're taking on too much. You're taking on too much work. Are you taking on too many bad habits? Are you taking on too much stress from other people, right, Libra? Are you listening to somebody complain at the office all the time? Is a partner putting too much expectation and responsibility on you, right? So the 2 of Pentacles is feeling overwhelmed, trying to juggle everything. And so the theme here is if you're not careful, you can drop the ball, right? There can be a sense of just becoming overwhelmed or taking on too many things, and you just can't multitask, right? So it's about literally finding balance. Good luck, my Taurus. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. You're going to be experiencing a full moon in Libra in your natal 5th house. This is great for you. I really like this for you. A full moon in the 5th house is all about romance, joy, creativity, what makes your heart sing. For those of you guys who are in relationships, I feel like it can just blossom even more. For those of you guys who are looking for someone special, this can be a time where you connect to somebody and it's just the most romantic time ever. This particular full moon is going to be in an air sign. So Libra is a sister sign to you. So especially if you have any placements between like 14 and 18 degrees of Gemini, sun, moon, rising, you'll experience a trine. When we see a full moon in the 5th house, it's like where taking chances has really positively played out. Now, you have a lot of social stuff going on in your 11th house, and whether you're being active in groups online, or you're initiating groups, or you're going to parties, or you're having get-togethers, there's a lot of fun to be had with a full moon in the 5th house. I do feel like it can also be about gains that are coming in for you through, taking chances, risks, and just really expressing yourself creatively. Can a full moon in the 5th house bring an I love you? Yes. Can it bring positive news in regards to your children? Yes. Can it bring a pregnancy announcement? Yes. All of these things can happen. And for the most part, you know, because Venus is hanging out in the 12th house and it's getting ready to come into your sign, I feel like it can be prime time for like creative projects behind the scenes, especially if you work with like film or design. Anything that has to do with like screens and things that might be like more spiritual or kind of hidden. It can also be about a grand reveal that's getting ready to happen that you've really been working hard on. You'll see this more when Venus crosses into Gemini the days to follow and it starts coming into a trine with Pluto. So also, could you be planning like a romantic getaway? Can you be planning a weekend away, right? This could be happening for you as well. Regardless, this is a time to really be aware of just really taking it all in and letting the heart sing. Great period of time for like a date night or being able to really open your heart to someone and tell them how you feel. I think that over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see that there's going to be this huge shift in regards to being more open and not being afraid to express yourself. So there may be lots of creative talents and projects and things that might be emerging from this as well. Let's take a look at what the cards say for you, my Gemini. The card that I get is the Four of Swords. So it's interesting because this is a card that's more, let's stay behind the scenes, let's rest, let's not go out, let's stay home, let's hang out and have a staycation, watch movies, have, you know, dinner at home, have this like romantic behind the scenes time, which can happen with Venus being in the 12th house, right? If this was in any other sign, I'd be a little iffy, but the fact that it's in Taurus makes me feel like actually taking time to really nurture either some of those romantic endeavors or creative endeavors in a private way where you can like ritualize it, or it can be just something that's between you and another person, can be very fulfilling. The Four of Swords does talk about rest and letting something be and recuperation. So maybe you are feeling like, man, we've been going out a lot and I've had a lot of parties and get-togethers and invitations, and you're like, I just want to do something that's going to make me happy, right? I just want to, and if that's staying at home, Taurus in the 12th house, and eating ice cream in bed and watching a movie with somebody, so be it. There can be this sense of indulging and feeling like you need to just unwind a little bit, but still really excellent in terms of this particular full moon. Let me know how that plays out, Gemini. For Cancer and Cancer rising, I've got a full moon taking place in Libra in your natal 4th house. And this is rather important. Obviously, you're ruled by the moon, so you feel these particular lunations a little bit stronger than most signs. And this is very active. There's a lot going on, especially if you've got any placements within the last 2 decans. So like 11 to 29 degrees, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. There's a lot going on right now. So having the moon come into the 4th house in Libra, it's comfortable here, right? It likes being at home. It likes being with family. But the full moon is really bringing this theme of, you know, family or private life or home life and the challenges to out in the world, reputation, career, responsibility. And it's naturally squaring these signs. So especially if you have any Cancer placements, 14 to 18 degrees, you're going to feel this pretty strongly. It's going to create a T-square. And guess what? The Cancer placements that you have will be the focal point of this particular full moon. On one hand, it's like emotions are going to drive the train, okay? And there can be a sense of acting out emotionally, being very sensitive, almost to the point of it can be hysterical, you know. The squares that you'll see to the moon and also to the 10th house makes me feel like you're kind of at a crossroads, either with your home and family situation or with your career. And you may feel like you just want to burst at the seams with Mars being in your sign. It's possible a full moon in the 4th house will bring a huge family sit down, a discussion. It can bring you going home, visiting home. It can also be about saying goodbye to a loved one. I don't like saying that, but we can see with the 4th house, it can be about, we sold the house, okay, we have to say goodbye. Or, you know, a issue with a parent is happening and you have to go home and be there and help them, or help them move, or you have to help them deal with a family crisis. In my opinion, at least you're going to have the support of home, family, or your clan, your roommates, right? Maybe even your partner, who's going to be there to say, hey, we want to help you with whatever needs to go on behind the scenes to help you better support yourself out in the world. Be patient. That's the best advice I can give you. Be patient. Watch for things that are going on with parents, and watch for things that are going on literally within your home. So if you have roommates, or if you're living with other people, it can also be landlords. It can be family coming to stay with you, so on and so forth. That's where you can kind of see this build. I have a hunch though, with Venus being in the 11th house, it's something about like, if you're living with a friend, or if a friend is coming to stay with you, There can be some kind of situation coming about. Now, if you know somebody's coming into town, let's say you have like a female relative coming to stay with you, you're like, yeah, we're gonna go out, we're gonna have a good time, we're gonna, you know, drink and party or whatever, 11th house. But if it's a situation where a family relationship, living situation has gone sour, living with a partner or a roommate has gone sour, it can bring some dramatic things in regards to your relationship with them and some changes somehow within the home zone, okay? Let's take a look and see what the cards have to say for you, Cancer. I get the 5 of Pentacles, so I feel like this is going to be you going like, who's got my back, right? Who's got my back? Who supports me when I'm in need? 5 of Pentacles is feeling like you're being kind of stuck out in the cold. You're not getting the support that you need. Someone's overlooking you and not considering you or not putting you first. This can be a card that comes up with poverty issues, financial issues, challenges, setbacks, not knowing how something is going to get paid, not knowing how something is going to be taken care of. But don't underestimate the power of the moon in the 4th house, because it's likely going to be a woman who's going to come in and rescue or support or aid, or a family member who's going to come in and rescue and support or aid. And with the oppositions to the 10th house, I think that it can be about a family member or a parent. And somebody may say to you, okay, well, buck up, you know, especially when you have the opposition between the 4th and the 10th, there's always some kind of stress between home and domestic responsibilities and your career. And the truth is that there's some very positive transits going on with your career right now. Whether this is you just coming into a prominent time or figuring out what you want to be when you grow up or getting ready to launch your first business or becoming a CEO, all of the drama that can come from this full moon in the 4th is pushing you into the 10th house of showing up, being responsible and being capable and really holding your own, okay? Good luck, my Cancers. For Leo and Leo rising, we're going to be seeing a full moon in Libra taking place in your natal 3rd house. And this is all about short trips, communication, especially how you communicate with other people, like your partners or maybe even your neighbors or your siblings. The 3rd house is the neighborhood, getting around. So cars, vehicles, contracts, being able to negotiate with other people. That all kind of comes to mind with Libra in the 3rd house. This particular full moon is ruled by Venus, and Venus is in the 10th. So this makes me feel like you're having to negotiate potentially with people at work, or you're being issued a contract, or you're trying to negotiate a deal, or you're trying to get something in writing. There can be a sense of trying to really nurture or care for or tend to some of your business contacts or your professional relationships. I like this for you. I feel like Libra naturally sextiles your sign, Leo, so air and fire fuel each other. There was a lot of support from your personal planets into Libra. I think the challenge here is with Venus having just come out of conjunction with Uranus, there's been some shifts at work, or there's been some shifts in relationships, right? So you've seen, whether professionally or romantically, like what is and is not working. And so what can happen with this particular full moon is that there is some sense of going, okay, I need freedom, or I'm breaking away from this, or I no longer believe this, or I'm giving myself the okay to walk my own path. They're in turn really putting an emphasis on Libra in the 3rd, where there can be a sense of you being like, look, we need to have a conversation. We need to renegotiate these terms. We need to talk about what is and is not working. We need to talk about where this relationship is going. These may be all things that you see kind of pan out. Pay attention to vehicles, pay attention to gadgets with a full moon in the 3rd house. The 3rd house also deals with education and all of the oppositions to the 9th. I'm wondering, like, could this be about documents, passports, visas, ID cards, things like that that you need in order to be able to travel, right? So you might be going, oh my gosh, I need to renew my passport. Oh my goodness, you know, I realize I don't have a second form of identification before I go somewhere. So there may be a sense of like needing to get this done. And with the oppositions to Jupiter, it can also be that you're needing it because you're going on a trip with a partner and the partner reminds you and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot, or vice versa. Or you're needing this for a younger person, a child, right? Because of the oppositions to Jupiter. So let's see what the cards say for you in terms of this particular full moon. I get the Four of Cups. This makes me feel like there can be conversations about feelings being hurt, or feeling like, you know, oh, I wasn't invited, or, you know, it doesn't feel the same in a relationship anymore. When the Four of Cups comes up, there's a sense of feeling disappointed, or not really thrilled, or not really excited about the state of a emotional connection. With the sun being in Aries, trine your ascendant, it's great. There's a lot of really positive energy here, but I'm wondering if there's going to be some difficult conversations you're going to have with a partner or a family member, a relative, somebody who's just kind of like, hey, there's something kind of out of balance, or I'm not seeing eye to eye. I don't think we're on the same page. Watch for that. That can come up, and it can also be a little disappointing because it may not necessarily resonate with you. There can be a sense of somebody else saying this and you're like, I don't understand, what's the problem? And you may have a difference of opinion, or a different perspective, or a different philosophy. Okay, watch for that. Good luck, Leo. For Virgo and Virgo rising, you are going to be having a full moon taking place in Libra in your natal second house. Second house, money, finances, security, stability, what you possess. Okay, so a full moon here can definitely bring a very prominent focus on your finances, what you own. Physical goods, banking, resources, the money that you have to spend, something that you have to buy, things like that. Very, very important topic right now for you, Virgo, because you do have so many planets going through your natal 8th house. With the sun there and Jupiter being there and an eclipse coming, it's very evident that there's either about to be a huge positive shift in regards to your joint resources, perhaps an inheritance, perhaps maybe a higher tax bill, money that's coming to you from another person, bonuses, the list go on. You may start to get wind of that during this particular full moon. This can be a full moon where you get a windfall, or you get a large check or a large payout. But keep in mind, in a few weeks' time, with that full moon that new moon solar eclipse that you're going to have in your 8th house, something about this makes me feel like your gain is somebody else's loss, or that you are merging with another person and then in turn bringing in more. Anyway, at the time of this particular full moon, the ruler Venus is in the 9th. So this can be an indication that you're merging with another person, especially a teacher, a collaborator, it can be a mentor, it can be a lawyer, right? The 8th house isn't always butterflies and rainbows. If you're one of these Virgo risings who's going through a separation or a divorce or a settlement, you may be talking about, like, literally, how much do I have to pay them? What do I owe them? How much of the house are they going to take? How do we sort out child support? The list goes on. So with Venus being in the 9th house, it can be that you're having to talk to a professional, a doctor, or a lawyer. I have a hunch, though, with Jupiter going through your 8th house, that your home zone is going to be protected. So it's like any resources that come in are coming in to help you pay for your home or your property, or maybe your family is helping you throughout this transition. But yeah, there's definitely some stuff going on here. On the flip side, with Saturn in your 7th house and the fact that Venus is moving through the 9th, those of you guys who are like, I'm not having relationship issues. In fact, I'm actually in a committed relationship and we're talking about the future. This can be an indication that you're actually discussing, how do we bring our money together? How do we make more? How do we focus on savings? How do we pay off our debt? How do we pay for a wedding, right? Because you have Venus in the 9th house. How do we pay for travel? So I think that there can be some sense of making purchases and receiving gains. And it may mean that you're like, I'll pay for everybody's flights. It's going to go on my credit card and I'm going to collect the points, right? Or taking something that you've been saving and utilizing that to be able to make an investment and see it grow. Regardless, the fact that this is going to be taking place in your 2nd house is going to be impacting your capability of being able to financially spend. And my Virgos, for the next few years, you'll see this, especially starting in the summertime. The South Node is going through your 2nd house. So there's a sense of releasing, letting go of, could be actual people, relationships, partners, Libra. It can be releasing and letting go of certain things you spend your money on, or perhaps maybe you're just cutting back on your spending, or seeing that there is less opportunities for income for some particular Virgo risings, okay? We'll see. Let's see what the cards have to say for you. Actually, I got 2 cards. The Judgment card and the Page of Wands. Okay, but the Page of Wands is the one that came up. Taking action, but in a more youthful, fun, creative, passionate way. So I feel like there can be maybe a sense of impulse spending or impulse buying, or wanting something that's going to bring you pleasure, kind of being like, yeah, I really want to buy this thing. Luxury goods can definitely be the second house, and the fact that it's ruled or connecting to the moon, and the moon rules your 11th. The one thing you want to watch out for is like feeling like you need to keep up with the Joneses, right? Keeping up with other people, being like, oh, I have to get the new iPhone, I have to get a new car, I have to get this new thing because everybody else has it. Watch for that, because there can be some impulsive jumping into making decisions with your finances right now, only to realize in about a few weeks' time, oh my goodness, now I'm realizing like what the credit card bill is, or what the loan is going to be, or how much it's going to cost to insure the new car, that type of stuff. So take that into consideration. But still, okay, pages are fun, creative. It can be about developing new skills, especially when it comes to pleasure or creativity, design. Good luck, Virgo. For Libra, Libra rising, you are going to be experiencing a full moon in your sign. Okay, Libras, so full moon in your first house. This is going to be bringing all of the attention to yourself and your body, okay? So how you're looking, how you're feeling, whether or not you're kind of feeling in tune and in balance and in sync with yourself. When the full moon is in your sign, you can be feeling very emotional, very sensitive, especially if you have any placements 14 to about 18 degrees of Libra, rising in particular. If you're a Libra moon, look at your lunar return. If you're a Libra sun, it can be more about your career or the relationship with yourself, just generally speaking. Full moon in the first house does bring this theme of completing your own personal goals. So look at the goals that you set last September. Really reevaluate, did I complete them? Am I happy? There can be some grand reveal in regards to your appearance, your looks, your body, and it's just like really bringing attention to you. Libra risings, all eyes are on you. You have so many planets that are going to be in your first, 10th, and 7th house. We know that the 7th house deals with how other people view us. The 10th house is our reputation and our physical kind of appearance out in the world, our career. And then we've got a moon that's happening in the first house. So Libra risings are getting pulled at all different angles. It is polar to all of these planets in Aries in the 7th house. So lots of action around relationships, lots of action around partners, lots of action around clients, or just people wanting to talk to you, connect with you, meet with you. Lots of really significant relationships are going to start being formed for Libra risings. But at the same time, we've got Mars moving through the 10th. So for the most part, all eyes are on you. There may be a sense of having to say to certain clients or friends or relationships, I need some time, right? Like I can't always be about you. It's got to be about me too. This is the one time that you're going to have that really is about you, Libra, until you get to closer to your birthday, because man, the next month is still all about relationships, and like the next month and a half or so is all going to be about work. So you can feel overwhelmed, emotional, sensitive. You know, the moon rules the 10th house, which is about career, but it's about nurturing. For some Libra risings, this can be an indication of pregnancy. So when you have a full moon in the first house, we're also going to be seeing that now Pluto is in the 5th house. There can be this theme of, oh my God, this is happening. All right, so watch for that as well. Let's take a look and see what is completing for our Libra risings. Watch for getting really testy, Libra. I have a feeling with that moon there and the fact that it's opposing your 7th house that there could be some testiness that you're having with other people. So just watch for that. Okay, so you get the 6 of Pentacles. So this is about give and take, exchange, fairness, balance. Another card that's about balance. I think that this is really showing up and talking about what you're putting out into the world. The mirror effect is very real for you because the moon is in your sign, and there can be a sense of you mirroring back to other people what they give you, okay? And with Jupiter and the sun and Chiron in the 7th house, if other people are acting wounded and playing the victim, you can do the same thing. especially with Mars being in your 10th house. If other people are deflecting and not wanting to take accountability for their behavior, you can give it right back to them. So you want to just be mindful of this. There is a little bit more visibility right now. So if you're going back and forth with somebody online, if you're getting testy with somebody out in public, people are going to see it. It's going to cause a scene. There can be some conflict in relationships, but the 6th house is getting what you give. So I think that this is a moment for you to really kind of be a champion for, hey, how can we meet in the middle? Hey, how can we find, you know, a win-win? How can we work together? How can two be better than one? Encouraging other people to kind of see some of their wounds and take accountability for the issues that they're kind of dealing with. So it can be in your one-on-one romantic relationships. If you're in a committed relationship or married, you're going to see this with your partners. If you are in a business where you have clients, you're going to see that with clients, and it's important to kind of go, that's not my shit. I'm going to hold you accountable on that, and support them through that process, so that way they're not learning to just be confrontational. Let me know how it goes, Libra. Good luck. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, you are going to be experiencing a full moon in the sign of Libra. This will be taking place in your natal 12th house of the hidden, the subconscious, things that are kind of behind closed doors. It is secretive. It is unseen. Subconscious is what I want you to think about, Scorpio, okay? Because Libra in the 12th house tells me that you do have a lot of relationship karma. There is a lot of completing relationship drama in this lifetime, working through it, learning to supersede some of the patterns and issues that you've had in relationships, and learning to let certain relationships, pattern or habits subside, just letting them go. At the time of this particular full moon, we're going to see that Venus is going to be in the 7th house. Now, I think this is helpful personally. I think that this can, in some ways, be a saving grace, because Venus is in its home sign and it's moving through the 7th house. It might be a time where there are surprises, shocks, and things coming from partners that you don't see coming. Part of that is because Venus is close conjunction to Uranus, but part of it is also because I think the 12th house energy is being shown in the 7th, right? It can be a time also where partners are going through some kind of a change. They're going through some kind of a transformation. Maybe they're starting to talk to you about their fears, or talking to you about their hangups, their insecurities. That can be coming up as well. But for the most part, like, man, I can't get mad at some of the energies in your 7th house, right? North Node, Mercury, Uranus, Venus, all in the 7th house. This is all about relationships right now. Even though we're seeing the oppositions taking place in the 12th and in the 6th. So you and Taurus are feeling the intensity of what's completing and how is it affecting my day-to-day or my health. Yeah, the 12th house is hidden spaces. So it's not unusual for people to have a full moon in the 12th house and they wind up in the hospital for the night, or, you know, they end up just partying hard and forgetting what they did the night before. They end up being really squirrely and in their mind, and they're like, oh my gosh, I just feel like I'm crawling out of my skin. The positive is that I do see, with the moon being the ruler of this particular, connection, I guess the moon is ruling the 9th house. It does make me feel like there can be opportunity for time away. So whether you're going somewhere, taking a trip, you're learning something, you're working behind the scenes, maybe you're working with a counselor or a therapist, maybe there's just more pillow talk that you're having with a partner about like what's on your mind, and just kind of coming out with some of this stuff. It's hard to say. But the 12th house is the subconscious. So with all of these energies in the 6th, Scorpio, of overworking, over-exercising, being hypercritical, more accident-prone, there can be a sense of needing rest and recuperation. And I think with the moon being there, it's like you need either a night where you need a decent amount of rest and you're not overworking, or you need a vacation. So you got to give that to yourself, because all work and no play will make you super Looney Tunes. And really lean on that Venus in your 7th. I think counselors, therapists, partners, support systems are going to be there. That means that this can also be like herbalists, right? Taurus. It can be people who are dietitians. It can be people who are also there to help you with financial assistance and talking to you about managing your finances and your budgeting as well. Let's take a look and see at what the cards have to say. Really pay attention, Scorpio risings, because this full moon being in your 12th house, early May, and eclipse on your ascendant makes me feel like some of you guys may have some health problems coming up, and you really need to be mindful of that. High Priestess, well, intuition, right? That's the big thing. Visions, what you're feeling. I've experienced some full moons where I have some really prominent dreams. So I wonder if that's what this is going to be about. Some gut feelings, some hunches about, oh, I think this thing is going to happen, or I have this feeling that this is going to shift. Pay attention to that, because whatever we're envisioning in the 12th house, we can actually put to work physically in the 6th house, right? But when this card comes up for me, it's kind of like my catch-all, okay, whatever you're kind of intuitively feeling. Don't underestimate the Chiron, Jupiter stuff here. There can be accidents, there can be ailments, there can be health problems that can come up, and you don't want to allow that to be something that kind of spirals out of control and affects the mental state, okay? Good luck, my Scorpios. Let's take this back a little bit so that way you guys don't get confused. There we go. All right, so for my Sagittarians, Sag, Sun, Moon, and Rising, you've got a full moon taking place in Libra in your natal 11th house. Okay, so the 11th house, friends, goals, networking, parties, getting together with other people, celebrating, having a good time. It's a fun house. This is also the money that you make from work and career. So this can be accomplishments coming from your career and things that are worthy of celebrating. With this particular full moon in the 11th, there can be a sense of you joining other people, you also going and participating in events or collaborations with a romantic partner. The ruler of this particular moon is Venus, and Venus is located in the 6th. So I wonder, is there going to be a work mixer? Is there training? Are you going to like a work party and bringing a partner? Are you focusing more on establishing relationships in your professional zone and you're making the time for it? All of that stuff can happen with Venus being in the 6th house. Trying to find ways to have more beauty and harmony in relationships in your day-to-day, especially within the office space, or maybe even just like bringing people together and wanting to kind of share some of your techniques or like what services you have to offer. That can be something else we can see with Venus in the 6th house. All right, so it's all opposing all of these planets in the 5th house. And I know that this is a full moon that's for Libra, but I can't help but notice that we've got this conjunction taking place between the Sun and Jupiter rules your particular chart. So it does tell me that there's so much like creativity bursting at the seams. There's so much stuff you're working on, you're developing, things that you love, really focusing on self-expression, romance, love, taking chances, children. And so you may be sharing some sense of good news about what you've been working on developing with other people. A full moon in the 11th can be a party that you go to and you've got people who are saying, oh, we've got a surprise. Okay, we're getting married, we're getting engaged. That can happen. But I think with the opposition, it's also indicating you have some good news to be sharing as well. So you're going to let other people have their moment, but there's also going to be a sense of being like, yeah, we'll meet my partner, or look at what we've accomplished, or look at what I'm doing. There is going to be this need or this feeling like you want to share, or maybe you're just wanting to share in some of the some of the celebrating, right? You're never going to say no to a good opportunity to party. What I'm also noticing is that this is just so helpful, and it's giving you a little bit of a reprieve from the heaviness of having Saturn in your 4th house. You know, Saturn being there, you can kind of feel down, kind of blue in your feelings, stuck at home. This is a time to not do that, get out there and be with other people so you feel like you can kind of celebrate. Libra naturally sextiles your ascendant. So a full moon in the 11th sextiling your ascendant is saying like, you're going to bring the positivity, the joy, the celebration. It's very likely also there can be some sense of some good news coming from romantic partners, children, younger people, something like that, that is also worthy of kind of celebrating as well. So you can't go wrong with this full moon for you. I'm actually really excited to see what happens. I have a hunch though, it's going to be like Somebody's telling you that they're getting married, right? Libra. Or somebody is telling you, oh, we're going through a huge change. We're, selling our house and we're relocating, because the moon's connection to the 8th house, it is going to be bringing up major changes and transformations, either in the relationship that you have with other people or the relationship that you have with another person. And change can be scary because the moon rules your 8th house, but it can also be very exciting because the opposition to all these planets in Aries is talking about that is life, right? Life just continues to grow, and there's all of these new events that transpire that allow us to evolve. The card that I get is the Knight of Pentacles. Okay, so you may want to look for an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, or a Capricorn, somebody who comes in that is maybe a little cautious with sharing this news. Maybe they're a little bit like under the radar. There can also be positive things that are coming out in regards to news with investments, news with finances. If you've been waiting to get good news, especially from a friend about, oh, how did the investment go? Or, what does it look like in terms of us starting this business together? Or what is it looking like in terms of what we're producing? It looks like there is steady growth, right? Knights always bring either messages or a sense of something moving forward. And they're the most cautious of all of the knights. So there is a sense of being like, yes, things are looking good. We have a lot to celebrate, but let's continue the good work, right? They're not going to allow you to kind of get too overly excited and enthusiastic just quite yet. So if you're really looking to see a payoff, especially if you're self-employed or if you work in a creative business, or you're just getting ready to launch something, this may be a sign that that is going to be very, very productive. Good luck, my Sagittarians. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. What's up, Cappy? Are you ready for a 10th house full moon? Probably Capricorn and Capricorn rising are the ones that are going to be like, because you're going to experience planets that are going to be in all of your cardinal houses, particularly if you're a Capricorn rising, anywhere between 14 and 18 degrees, like hold on to your shorts, okay? It will be fine. Don't freak out, but just know that having a full moon in your 10th house, you were born for this, right? You know all about 10th house Capricorn energy. It's peak position, being on top. This is an excellent full moon for getting a lot of recognition, getting that pat on the back, saying yes to the new job, saying yes to accepting an offer, making the decision to launch something. The list goes on and on and on, okay? This is about showing up. And showing up sometimes means that you have to do what's best in order to honor partnerships and relationships, especially professionally. Showing up sometimes means calling people on their shit. Okay, and that I think that's what part of this is going to be. Because the 10th house does deal with huge decisions that can be very public. The moon's connection to the 7th house tells me that it can be about who you choose to work with, who you choose to go toe-to-toe with, who you choose to call out. Now, it can be somebody at the office, it can be a boss, it can also be a family member. The reason why I say that it's going to get a little intense is, let's say you have planets in Capricorn in the 1st house, or you're a Cap rising. You're going to see this full moon 10 houses to your sign. So it's going to feel very Saturnian. So there's a lot of work and effort to this, but also with hard work, there is generally pretty good rewards, right? So you're going to see that there can be a completion of a project you've been working on or an approval of a proposal. But it's still heavy energy, right? It's steep having to go up that hill. This moon is going to square your ascendant, square all these planets in the 4th house of family, square the 7th house of relationships, and then come back in. So for Capricorn placements, it's going to create a grand cardinal cross. The positive is that a cross like this makes the wheel of the chart turn. If you're going to complain about this energy, I'm going to tell you, put on your big boy and girl pants, because it's going to be like this for the next 2 years. This is a taste of what you're going to start seeing when the North Node goes into Aries this summer. You're already kind of there, right? Sun and Jupiter and Chiron are in your 4th house. Some of you guys are experiencing family drama, conflict, having to go back and forth with a parent, dealing with a home or a housing situation. And it's bringing up some wounding revolving around, who is my family? Where is my home? It's challenging because it's squaring your planets in Capricorn, and it feels like growing pains. And there can be a sense of being like, you know what? I got to go and deal with family. I got to go and deal with home. It's creating some strife with the squares to Mars where you're having to kind of ruffle some feathers, and that full moon is like just the icing on the cake. There can be huge things going on at work that are really challenging your emotions or your domestic or your home zone. So when we see oppositions between the 4th and the 10th, it's a lot of like, okay, well, I've got to work, but the kids are sick. I've got a huge shift coming up with my career, but I also have to move. We seem to feel pulled in both directions. My advice is really show up, and if that means you're having a difficult time or you have to tell the boss that you're not grieving well with the loss of a family member, if you're going through some strife with a relationship and you're like, look, I am so busy at work right now, I just really need you to help me and show up. There's a lot of having these conversations with people as a result of this full moon. The positive, though, is that I think it's going to bring you some really great shifts in regards to your career. Venus rules this full moon, and you've got Venus in the 5th. So if it is responsibility, it's responsibility of a business that you love, of a creative business, or your talent really being kind of showcased at work. Your responsibility for a child or a younger person can come up here as well. Libra in the 10th house can also be about your public relationship. So there can be a sense of going through changes with who you're dating, who you love, who you're partnered with, and that becomes very public out in the world. But it can be as simple as being like, oh, I'm going from being single to being in a relationship. I'm going from being in a relationship to being engaged. So there can be some very public things that kind of come about in regards to your status in the world and who you're partnering with. But I do think that you're really having so much that's going on in regards to your 4th house that you're like, I want to spend more time at home. I want to relocate. I want to be home with my kids. I want to buy a new house. So I have to kind of give up my job. Relocation may be a theme here, and where you're having to make difficult decisions to really start planning the life that you want, being a little bit closer to home and less out in the public eye. The card that I get for you is the Page of Pentacles. Taking the first steps, right? Taking the first steps. This can also be about you as a Capricorn or a Virgo or a Taurus popping in, or a younger person. So with Venus being in the 5th house, I'm wondering, is this about responsibility for a younger person that you care for? Is this about your own investments that you're making in yourself and your own hobbies and your own business? That's what this can be about. Learning new techniques in regards to kind of building yourself up or becoming more financially stable or secure. Many of you guys are going to see with Jupiter going into your 5th house soon, and still yet some more emphasis in the 5th house, that it's all going to be about what makes you happy. And are you investing in building the life that you want or supporting other people? Good luck. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You're going to be experiencing a full moon in Libra in your natal 9th house. So the nice thing is, if you are an Aquarius sun, moon, or rising, you will be experiencing a trine because Libra is a sister sign. It's a fellow air sign, particularly 14 to 18 degrees of Aquarius sun, moon, or rising. So a full moon taking place in your natal 9th house. This is all going to be about your travel, your belief system, relationships at a distance, philosophy, education. All of that stuff kind of comes through with the 9th house. Having a full moon here can indicate that you literally find yourself in another place. So for some of you guys, it's traveling. For others, it's going to be about applying for a new program, getting accepted into a program, taking on a new mentor or teacher. It's in the axis of your 3rd and your 9th. And the 9th house is the higher mind. Think like foreign travel and college, or professionals that you would talk to, like mentors or spiritual people or lawyers. People in publishing can come up as well. And then the 3rd house is more about the lower mind, writing, communicating, and kind of being in your early, environment. Anything in regards to your neighborhood, basically. With this opposition, it makes me feel like you're learning more about your schedule. You're learning more about perfection because the moon rules the 6th house. So with the moon being in the 9th, it's like, okay, I have to book a trip. I have to lay out my schedule if I want to meet my deadline for what I'm going to be publishing. I need to start the process of getting everything organized so that way I can move away. Movement might come up here with Jupiter and the Sun in the 3rd house, and you may be considering moving further away. You might also be thinking about learning more about health and wellness. So I could see some of you guys adopting or taking on a new health or wellness practice that has some kind of spiritual philosophy behind it, right? And it may be about balance, it may be about harmony, and kind of coming into balance with other people. Now, at the time of this particular full moon, Venus is the ruler, and she is in the 4th house of home and family. So I could see this being about like family moving further away. It can be about you looking at buying or selling or investing in property that might also be further away. It could be in foreign lands or just in another city or state. But Venus being in the 4th house in its home sign tells me that you're focusing on beautifying a home or a woman coming to visit you from further away. So family might be visiting from out of town or vice versa. There can also be a sense of talking to a woman about getting out of the house and going and booking a trip and getting some travel in. So that can be another way of looking at this as well. If you are somebody who is a teacher or a professor or somebody who is a writer and wanting to publish something, this can be a huge breakthrough where you have the opportunity to do that with the support and help of another person. So it can be like an editor. It can also be somebody who comes in to kind of just help you clean up what you've been working on and get it ready to go out into the world. For the most part, positive for you. I mean, the fact that it's going to be trining your sun, moon, or rising is really wonderful. And it's really kind of helping you ease into change and transformation. Pluto is in your sign. Equally, you've got all of this yummy energy in Aries that's also sextiling your ascendant. So as long as you're communicating, sharing, talking to people, you're able to work through some of these changes and you're able to kind of embrace a new belief system or a new philosophy. Let's take a look at what the cards say for you. The card that I get for you is the Lovers. I wonder, being that it's Libra in the 9th house, if this is about love at a distance, long distance relationship, meeting somebody far away, going to meet them coming to meet you, booking a trip somewhere with them, you know, especially somewhere that you could fly to because it would be a further place. The Lovers card does talk about romance, desire, options, choices, and it does talk about 2 paths. So I think that you're realizing that there's more than relationships that may just be in your immediate environment. Maybe you're broadening your horizons and you're open to meeting people in other places. Maybe you're learning about other cultures through the people that you're dating. There can also be a sense of just feeling like you're willing to do things for love that maybe you're not used to doing. You're willing to go further, learn more, travel more. And a relationship may be majorly shifting your belief system in general, but all for the better. Good luck, Aquarius. And we have Pisces and Pisces rising. You're going to be experiencing a full moon in Libra, and this will be taking place in your natal 8th house. The 8th house, death, sex, transformation, joint resources, psychological triggers. An interesting place for the moon to be because anytime a planet goes through the 8th house, we definitely see a transformation. The moon here, which represents the rulership of your 5th house, right? Children, creativity, joint resources, investments. A full moon in the 8th house can definitely bring a payout. I think that that's the case for Pisces rising. With the moon, completing a phase here in opposition to the sun and Jupiter in the 2nd. It looks like you're getting cash in hand, you're getting paid for something. It can be an insurance check, it can be an inheritance, it can be money that's just been owed to you. A tax refund, an insurance payout is very possible with this being in your 8th house. It can be as a result of an investment that you made though, because the 5th house moon connection can be speculative. So if you invested in a stock or something that you were like, hey, I feel like this can actually grow, and all of a sudden it rises sky high, you're going to be like, I'm going to cash out on that because the 2nd house is what you physically possess. So while the sun is coming into conjunction with Jupiter, which rules your chart, it looks like you're going to get like a really nice little gift from the universe, and this is when you're going to receive it. Take into consideration, though, that this does seem to talk about taxes and what you owe other people. So if you owe money to people, if you owe money to a loan or banking, you may decide to take some of that and pay that off, or kind of, you know, clear that debt. There may be a sense also of there being some sudden changes going on with a partner and their resources. So the full moon in the 8th house can represent a partner that gets a bonus or gets an inheritance. And therefore, it also ends up positively affecting you. If somebody's owed you money, this can also kind of come through in this particular lunation as well. At the time of the full moon, it's ruled by Venus, and Venus is in the 3rd. So I would look for like an email, a check in the mail. I would look for a phone call or somebody who's like, hey, I've got the resources, or it came through. If you're applying for a loan or a credit card, or like debt consolidation, a refinance, this also can be an indication that that's getting ready to come in for you. It's just a matter of you applying or calling in or sending a request. Now, full moons are dramatic, and when it's in the 2nd and the 8th house, it definitely is financial. So Pisces and Virgo are going to feel this much more in a financial sense. If I look at this, though, it also makes me feel like it's the setup for being like, okay, I'm becoming more financially secure. I'm making money, but I'm also paying off my taxes, or I'm paying what I owe other people. And you may be in a good position right now because you're like, wow, my partner's got something that's coming in, but just be prepared. Spend your money wisely, invest your money wisely, consider saving some of your resources, because over the summertime, the South Node is going to move into your 8th house, and you're going to have less support from other people. So whether it's, you know, an inheritance that's running out, or, you know, a wealthy spouse that leaves, like, you never know whether or not you're going to have that support. You'll see this over the next 2 years. Don't allow other people to become too reliant on you, and equally focus more on building your own personal financial freedom, so that way it can continue to grow. And a lot of what I'm saying will make sense as we get into the next couple of months, as the eclipses roll through your 2nd house, the North Node comes into your 2nd house. You may make more than ever, but also there is a sense of really focusing on your value system and reminding yourself, I don't have to physically have things in order to feel secure or solid. Yes, there may be things that you buy. In particular, I'm wondering if it's going to be property or land. And if you're looking at making investments into home or family related things because of either a relationship or a child, that might be something that's coming up as well. But pretty positive financially for you, my Pisces. Let's take a look at what is coming up. Venus being in the 3rd, I think you're going to get good news, though. It can be also just people really being transparent and vulnerable about their feelings, and intimacy going to new levels as a result of talking about some more intimate things financially or emotionally. The card that I get is the 3 of Cups. So it looks like, you know, feeling excited, celebrating the fact that something's kind of come through, that there's a big accomplishment, sharing this with other people, being very joyous because of some kind of abundant situation. Yeah, Venus being in the 3rd can talk about doubles. So if you work with 2 other people, if you're a part of a 3-person team, a full moon in the 8th can bring some drama sometimes. It can expose some secrets. But I think Venus being in the 3rd is pretty strong. Mercury conjunct the North Node means I think people are going to tell you exactly how they feel. They're going to be direct with you about everything. If you're being told you're going to get something, likely you're going to get it. I don't really see any hangups here. And just really a lot to celebrate. So enjoy this moment. Really look forward, especially as the Sun comes into conjunction with Jupiter, for this payout. It may actually come a couple days after this particular full moon. Okay, guys, that's all that I have for you for this full moon in Libra. I hope that you enjoy. I know that it's going to be late at night and early in the morning in some places. So if it's going to be happening early in the morning on the 6th where you're living, or really late at night on the 5th, you guys want to do all of your ritual work, all of your magic stuff, setting your intentions, lighting your candles the night before. So do it on the 5th. You do not want to do this on the 6th, or you can wait until the moon enters into Sagittarius and begins to make trines to this particular Sun and Jupiter point. So even though it's way after the full moon, you're still going to feel the positivity of this on the let's see, on the PM hours of April 10th, okay? So like I said, full moon's usually a couple days before, a couple days after. I could see some of this stuff hitting right when we start to see this trine between the moon and the sun and Jupiter. So if you don't do that stuff on the 5th, you have some time on the 10th. You can work with that moon trine the sun and Jupiter, and you can still bring in some of the goodies that are going to come from this full moon. Please be kind to one another. That's the best advice I can give you with this full moon. Try to be a support system for others and try to focus on really nurturing relationships and show up the best that you can. When things get difficult, don't walk away. Leave me your comments below. Let me know how you're feeling with this energy. I will be back on Thursday. We're going to be doing the April horoscopes. It's crazy. I can't even believe it's almost April. I don't know where the year is going. It's freaky. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that way you're alerted when I have videos coming out. If you like my style, you want to book a personal reading with me, check out my website below at beyondtheveiledtarot.com. I have openings in the month of June and July. They're filling up quickly. But if you know that you have a birthday coming in, or you'd like to get a synastry reading about you and your partner, pick a special date for a special occasion, and much more. I do all of that in my services section. All of my readings are live in my digital office on Zoom, and I send you a recording so you can listen to that and keep that forever and ever and ever. All right, enough from me. I will see all of you guys very soon on Thursday. Take care.